Our Father, we are eternally grateful. Thank you for the privilege of sharing with your sons and your daughters. We have come to glorify your name. We ask that only Jesus will be seen. Let your hand come so strongly upon us. Answer our questions. Go higher than we can ever imagine. Reach where no man can ever reach. Let truth proceed. And let there be liberty in our hearts. We give you all the glory. Let your spirit feel free in our midst in a very unusual manner. In Jesus' name we are prayed. Amen. Praise the Lord. You are not smiling. I say praise the Lord Jesus. I'm happy you came. And we will keep meeting. Hallelujah. I was telling my wife that I'm sensing I'll be meeting with these people every month once. Would that be nice? Because for you to be strong and lovely, it's an all-round thing. There are plenty things to say. So I think that once every month will be very nice for us to share fellowship together. Praise God. You notice today we are sitting down. Because if any man is intending to build a tower, what should he do? He has to sit down. So we decided we need to sit down. The Bible says when he sat down, his disciples came to him. So there is something about sitting down. Praise God. So we just want to tell some stories. Maybe for the next 2 hours. We're just telling stories. And the Lord will be doing what he wants to do with those stories. Praise God. We are not trying to panel beat it. We're trying to tell you how it actually happened. Praise God. So I think that they say ladies first, right? Is that not what you people said? But in the Bible said he made the man first. So, but let her start first. She will raise a matter. When she raises the matter, she talks her own. I will talk my own. Are you understanding? Because by that time, two were not one. Two were two. So there were different things happening to two different individuals. It was when we came together, we tried to see what is it that was happening. Are you with us till that point? All right. So, are you bringing another mic for us? All right. That would be wonderful. That would be wonderful. All right. So, please go ahead.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Okay. My story is... I don't know. Okay, my story started in 108 Isakaita. That was my room, and that was my hostel. I came in 97, 98 session to read veterinary medicine. And so I got that room and moved into the room and discovered I had some very wonderful roommates. We were 4 of us, and it happened that 3 of us were vet students, and then one other one in industrial chemistry. Okay, the eldest of us was our CU hall mommy. And she was a medicine student too. So somehow we became sisters and we became friends. And I already had a sister on campus, so she invited me to the fellowship. So to get into CU wasn't difficult for me because my sister was already there. And coming from home, we attend SU. So it was just like there was no SU on campus then anyway. So that was the only thing we had. And it was like, this is just the family. So it was easy to flow. So both in the fellowship and in the hostel, I had like my sisters around me. So my hall leader was my friend, even though she was already in 40th vet at the time. Yes, 40 at that time. And I was just in first year. So we were like that. I knew some of their friends. They knew my own friends. And just like you have it, it's the normal thing that happens. Someone comes around and knocks. I'm looking for so and so person, and the person is either in or out at the moment. So I was in the room one of the days, and someone knocked. And I think I was the only one around. My roommates were not around. And then someone knocked on the door. I opened the door. I was about to, I think I had come back from lecture. I was about to take some tea and my biscuits. So I prepared the thing, but I had not started eating. And then someone knocked. And I went to the door. And I opened the door, and it was a young man. He said, "I'm looking for Uju Okorafor. Is she around?" I said, "No, she's not in at the moment." He hesitated. I said, "Well, I don't know if you want to wait for her. That if you want to wait, please come in." And he said, "Yes, he will wait." Then he came in, and I offered him, to sit, and he did. And I asked him, "I don't know if do you mind if you would have some tea?" He said, "No, he wouldn't mind." And me, I was like, yeah. I was like, Jesus. I didn't expect him to say yes. So, but when he said he wouldn't mind, I had an extra teacup and I had an extra saucer. So I said, okay. I brought out the teacup and the saucer. I made tea and brought biscuits, and I offered him. And he sat down, and just like as if he has known me, as if he was someone he knew, he took it and maybe asked a few questions. We just got talking, and then he said he was leaving. And then he left. I don't think he met June. She wasn't. Then he left. But I was like, what kind of human being is this? So that was it. So maybe you talk your own.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. I had come into the fellowship, and by God's grace, God has begun to lay hands on me a little here and there. And some people are beginning to see that there's little grace upon this life. So the lady she mentioned, at that point, had a very serious issue. She was to get married to someone, and the relationship broke. I can't really remember all the stories. I don't remember people's stories. I remember my own. So she met me and she told me, because we're a group of friends then. And she was heartbroken, so to say, finding it difficult to cope and all the rest of them. So after sharing with me, I told her it's all right. We're going to walk through it so that you get healed and get over it and continue. So I go to see her from time to time to know how she's doing and to be sure she's becoming stable after the heartbreak. So it was one of those evenings that I went to see her. It was her room I went to. And I knocked, and someone opened. Praise God. The Bible says, knock, and it shall be opened. So someone opened, and something happened to me. Are you understanding? I know that you have never met people that you look at and you are wondering, something was happening to me instantly. I felt a huge connect. I don't know what it is. So when she offered me to stay a little and wait for the lady I'm looking for, I happily came in and sat down. She offered me a cup of tea. I took, which is not my manner. I don't normally eat in female hostel. But I took it because I needed time. I needed to buy time and really find out what is this thing happening with me and in my heart. So we talked a little, so just asked a few questions, and that was it. And I left. And later, I saw the person I was looking for in school. She told me, I told her I came to your room and I met your roommate. She said, oh, she's the first year. She's a nice girl. She's in our fellowship. I say, our own fellowship. I said, how come? So that was our first meeting in room 108. Blessed be room 108. Nsukka Hall. If you are in Nsukka, if you reach that room, bless that room for me. For there came forth my help. Are you understanding? So that was our first meeting. I think I should stop there. Maybe you raise another issue.
Okay, so from that point, my roommate's friend, so to say, also became my friend. So we would see each other, we would greet once in a while. Maybe, I don't remember him coming often, because shortly after that, my hall leader, that's Sister Ju herself, was now coming from, she was shuttling from her home. Her parents were lecturers, so she was on and off, but from time to time, she will meet me, and she will be like, how is Bro Innocent? And I'll be like, how is Bro Innocent? I should be asking you. And she's like, he's your friend too. And I'm like, he's your friend. But I knew that we had built kind of a circle of friends, and that was that. We would see each other sometimes in the fellowship. And when they dismiss, I don't normally wait. I will run out. Once they are sharing grace, then they are sharing the grace, I'm already at the door. And then when I get back to the room, she will ask me, did you see Bro Innocent? And I'm like, should I have seen him? Must I see him? That kind of thing. But she was there, and she knew that, I don't know how she knew, but somehow she knew that maybe she knew that it was something more than just a mere friendship. So, but at that point, we were just friends. Praise God. And then, fast forward to the point where we had a sisters' weekend. And, of course, all leaders will mobilize their members and CU as a whole. The CU sisters, it was our program. And it was Mommy Shade Akane that was coming. So it was a big one. It was something more than CU. And most of the JCB campus, fellowships on campus were interested. So that meeting was going to hold in a demo building. By this time, I was in my second year. And the demo building, I don't think is still there right now. They've demolished it. It was somewhere around religion departments. Economics. Behind economics. So it was a prefabricated building. And that was where that program held. And so I got ready with my friends. I had these wonderful friends. We were all in first year together, and we were all moving together. I mentioned their names the other day. One was Chioma, one was Ogochukwu, and then other ones. Then what really happened was Nsukka Hall was newly converted at that point from being a male hostel to a female hostel. We were the first set that moved into Nsukka Hall as females. So we had plenty first years. And so most of the first years were there. In fact, it was one of the halls that had mostly first years and a few other years. So the first years were plenty, and we all moved. At that point, we'll joke and make jokes and say it's like it's a continuation of secondary school because it was mostly first years. So, but it was easy for us to connect, and we were flowing together. So that meeting came up, the Sisters' Weekend, and I left my hostel that evening to demo building. As we were going, we were chatting, talking, several things. And then as we got there, the program had already started. We were a bit late, and I think the opening prayer has held, and they called him. At that point, he had become the vice president of the fellowship. So I think the mommy needed him to probably come do the introduction or say a word of prayer or something, I don't know. But as I entered, he was on the stage. He was ministering or saying some things. So when I came in with my friends, I walked in. And as soon as I walked into that hall, I could recognize the voice of God at that time, that early. I knew when God had spoken to me. So it wasn't something I planned. It wasn't something I was thinking about. But as soon as I entered that hall, something said to me, that's the man with whom you have to deal. That's your husband. It was clear. It wasn't like, is it not? Is it? And it wasn't something I was thinking about, but I heard it, and I heard it clearly. And so I checked myself, because my normal me, marriage was not in the picture, and this is second year in any case. And in any case, why should it be him? So it wasn't as if it was in a plan. So I sat down on the chair. Of course, they ushered us somewhere. And I told myself, are you all right? And I checked again. I said, is it that you are playing with your mind, or is it? But as I bent down to pray, I heard God again. He said, I know what I've told you, and that's what I mean. And I couldn't shake it off me. I came for Sisters' Weekend sincerely. I actually came to hear Mommy Shade. You know, the introductions we've heard before and the hyping about the meeting, and my mind was not thinking marriage at all. It was not there. And so I sat down, and all through that meeting, my one ear was in that meeting, but the one ear was not there, because I was searching my heart. I wanted to be sure it was not me talking to myself. I wanted to be sure I wasn't playing around, and I couldn't just place it. But that was it. But I knew it wasn't an ordinary encounter. I knew God spoke to me. And so there, I knew that before that meeting finished, I made a pact with God. I said, this is not what I want. This is not what I'm thinking. And if actually this is what you are saying, then I'm going to keep it to myself, and I'm not going to share with anybody. Nobody will hear it. Nobody will even know. Nobody will even smell it. If it's you, then you will have to convince him to come to me at the appointed time. But if I wait and I finish and I graduate and he doesn't mention anything about it, and somehow our paths don't cross as per marriage, I'll graduate and leave, and I'll tell myself it was not the Lord. That was what I decided. I said, nobody is going to hear it. I'm not discussing it. It's not an issue to discuss. But if he comes, then I'll know that, okay, maybe there's light this way. But if he doesn't come, I'm going to graduate and go my way. Of course, I wasn't thinking marriage, praise God. But that word was there, and we finished the program. Throughout that weekend, I took notes, I jotted things, but I knew I was disturbed. I knew I was not so settled. But I learned a few things. I put them down in my journal, and then I continued from there.
All right. That's very dramatic. Mine was not like that. Mind you, what she's talking about had to take almost 2 years extra before I started imagining she could be the one. So for 2 years, I was talking with someone who knows I'm her husband, but will never tell me I'm the husband. Will never show me I'm the husband. I think for all those period of time, she visited me only twice and 30 minutes per visit. So just about 1 hour for those length of time. I didn't have any idea because I was not thinking marriage anyway. That would be crazy to think about marriage. It was not there at all. But I remember something. I went to Baptist Church, Enugu Road, 100 Enugu Road. The church is still there. I think we went there to preach last year. They invited us to preach last year, and I was thanking them for what their church did for me. So, it was time for me to pray in the middle of the night. So I just walked out from the parsonage and went to the altar, just like this, and lay down flat. And I had some burdens to pray, but not marriage. And I didn't know exactly what the burden was for. Thank God for the gift of praying in the Spirit. So I began to pray in the Holy Ghost. For close to 3 hours, I finished praying. And I was now waiting. Maybe the Lord has something for me to tell me about revival in Asia or some other place. What I had shocked me. He said, your marriage is settled. I said, marriage? How? Where? Because it's not part of the thing I praying about. So, but I took it. Normally, I went my way. I was not thinking of any of those things. But strangely, my senior pastor called me one day. He just called me to his office. I said, your marriage? I said, sir, marriage? He said, yes. That God wants you to begin to think along that line. So I began to avoid him because I didn't want anybody to be telling me that kind of thing, you know. But when I began to put my mind inside it, it's one of the days I went to town. As I was coming back, I joined the same bus with a friend, Dr. Chikonoa. He's in Abuja now, a very close friend of mine. I think I handed over to him as CU president. Yes, I handed over to him. So we were just in the bus discussing. Suddenly he turned to me. He says, Oga, God calls me Oga. He says, Oga, what if Nnenna is your wife? I just looked at him. As if, is this one all right? I said, what are you meaning by it? He said, I only asked you a question. I said, I don't know about it. And honestly, I don't know about it. So we just left it there. So time kept on passing. But we are just friends. We see, we greet. But one particular thing is that when I see her, I'm happy. Yes. Anytime I see her, I'm excited. If she greets me, oh my God. That means the Holy Spirit came to church. Are you understanding? I would just feel excited. I'll feel happy. I love to see her, even though we don't have time to talk and all the rest of them. You know, so, but as the time began to approach, I began to put my mind in it. But God never expressly told me, she's your wife, the way God told her. God didn't tell me like that. What God said to me is that I will give you a homemaker. That became an issue for me. So at my present level, what I decided to do is to write the names of all the ladies that are close to me. I said, Lord, which of these ones now is the homemaker? But interestingly, I was not thinking of her. There was another person. She will still bring in the story when I finish. There's another person I was thinking about. I think she was the mommy there. Yes, she was the mommy. And you know now, you understand? So I was thinking about her. She would just call me kingdom brother. I'll say my sister. You know, she is from Kogi State. You know, so she even translated my name to Kogi and was calling me the Kogi version. That was the person I was thinking. It should be. My mind was in it so much. I just felt it may be this person. So, but at the same time, I just left it open. I held on to one thing. I will give you a homemaker. I can't forget that one. I can't remember God saying, this is the homemaker. So along the line, I decided that I was going to take a step of faith. I told myself, okay, among all these people, I'm going to visit homes. When I visit, if I see how the home is, then if the person comes from a home, he may be a homemaker. That was my level of reasoning and understanding. God leads you according to your level. I want you to know that. That an angel didn't appear to you does not mean you are not a child of God. It's according to your level. And it's not when it is now marriage, Angel Gabriel will start coming, when he has not been coming to you all this while. Are you understanding? So, but that in which my friend spoke entered into me. So I decided that she would be the first person I would visit. And that was during strike. Things happened during strike. So I visited. The home was quiet. The reception was good. The mom particularly was very nice to me. Having not seen me before, the dad just spoke few words. Yet, there was something I had in mind. She thought I was visiting as a brother in fellowship. But I was visiting for confirmation. And the person you are visiting for confirmation already knows 2 years ago. And she has not told you. So we just talked and I left. And I put it somewhere also in my heart. That it's like, this is it. I was still not certain. Are you following me? I was still not sure. But I still put it somewhere and say, this could actually be it. And I left it there. Now, I think you may need to talk about Rosemary a little.
Yes. So as I kept going on, I would pray, but not seriously about marriage. And because somebody like me, my academics were paramount. And being in vet, I didn't want stories. So I tried to push the issue of marriage to one corner. And I felt, okay, at least by the time somebody has got up to 5th year, 4th year, 5th year, final year, if anything is happening, that's okay. Or not now. So I tried shifting it away. Once in a while, I'll pray about it. But from that moment, each time I prayed about it, it wasn't as if I was expecting to hear, but it was as if it was settled. There wasn't anything about the issue of marriage anymore. So, but the few times I tried to pray, it was as though it's been settled. This issue is not something you are bringing up. And so I pushed it aside. And then I continued. But then I had people around me. My hall leader then had gotten married. And then each time she came around, she stayed around, she would talk about it. And I didn't like those conversations because I didn't want it somewhere, somehow. For example, she would come into the room and she would call me Dr. and Dr. Mrs. because he was in vet at the time and I was also in vet. And she would make comments. She would say, have you seen Brian Ascent? And I'm like, excuse me, please. I'm not supposed to see him. Should I see him? So that was how we continued until my friends came into the picture. Ogo and Choma too. They became like watchers. We talked to ourselves and what was happening. By now, I was already in third year, fourth year, thereabout. And they themselves were in final year. And we had some serious discussions. And I don't know how they knew, but as far as they were concerned, it was a settled matter. And so they were committed to making it happen and happen the right way. Even if they had gone, but they knew that this kind of, I don't know how they got to know, but they knew this was of God and it must be preserved. So we had our rules, laid down rules, how we walked. I don't leave my hostel when it's already 7:30. I had no business outside. It was a personal decision. If I was to go to class, then I should have left by 7. And then it's TDB, we are coming back in the morning. I had no business outside. So no matter whatever it was the person was looking for, is either I'm inside by 7 or I had gone to class. I think I was that triangular. So we monitored ourselves kind of. But some very surprising things I didn't understand at that point happened. The sister he was talking about was the current, at that point, CU mommy, and I had become the treasurer. I served as treasurer twice, and we ESCO sisters, there were only 3 then. You only have 3 positions for ESCO sisters: the mommy, the treasurer, and the AGS, the assistant general secretary. And the ESCO sisters had their times of prayers. It was like a law of Medis and Pesha, you don't change it. So when those times came, we would go up the mountain, sometimes Christ Church, we prayed. Because the whole sisters in the fellowship were like, they were in your hands. So it was a big responsibility and there was so much to pray about. So but one of those days we got to Christ Church and we were praying. There were so many issues. We prayed. And then as we were finishing, the prayers these were now small other AOBs. She asked us to stop and said we should open our eyes. We opened our eyes. She said, there's something that has been in her heart and she wants us to pray about it. That myself and the AGS, that she has been quite close to Bro Innocent at some point at that time, and that she is thinking that Bro Innocent is her husband. And this is me, we are holding hands and we are praying. But I knew they were close, I knew they were friends. And she said she doesn't want to, she has kept it in her heart, but that she wants us to help her also and maybe pray about it. And if any of us has a word, that will help her. And in my heart, I'm like, okay. Okay, let's pray now. But me, I know what I know. And that thing I know, I wasn't going to share it. And I wasn't going to say it. I know it and it's somewhere locked up. But you have shared your own, so let's pray. And we all prayed.
Did you really pray?
We prayed. We prayed, but you know that kind of prayer. We just prayed as per pray. It surprised me though, but it wasn't much of a surprise because I knew him quite well. And I knew there were a lot of sisters around. Definitely, he was there, and they have always been around. And and so it's one thing I didn't let it bother me, because this person has not said anything to you and has not shown it in any way, even though we are friends. So there was no need to lay hold on what wasn't yours anyway. So I didn't mind the people around. I knew some very close ones that he had to deal with, but it wasn't an issue to me until the mommy told us of it, and I think we prayed and we left. And I got back to my room that day. I think that was one of the moments I went back to God and said, I am still where I am. I'm standing on what I said. He hasn't said anything. He hasn't even shown in any way. So, but if he comes, fine and good. If he doesn't come, then I'm going to leave here and I'll drop it and nobody will know about it. So that was it. And we continued. Okay.
Now, the lady she was talking about is the one I said I was interested in. Are you understanding? I didn't tell her. I kept it to myself. And what was motivating me is that she's kingdom-minded, prayerful, and all the rest of them. Are you understanding? Aha. That was what was motivating me. I have already known I'm going into ministry. As far back as second year, if you come to my room in 205 Mbanefo, you see something on the wall. I just snapped and asked the photographer to use fire to surround it and put it on the wall, that this is a man that will carry fire for his generation. So when I wake up every morning, I see it and say, this is where you are going. I was not planning to be a banker or a lecturer or any of those things. No, I knew where I was going. Are you following me? So I had to deal with that because she is my friend. But I was not thinking of her in terms of marriage. I was thinking about this other person. Now, let me quickly say, now one of those days, the lady walked up to me. We have just finished fellowship. And she said something to me. She said, Kingdom brother, after fellowship, I just want you to walk me down to my hostel. There's something I want to tell you about. You see, one of the things I discovered in our generation, which may be lacking in your time, is sincerity and honesty. So she said to me, that there is one brother called Jacob, and that she is sensing so strongly that that brother is the husband. I should pray about it. I'm still remembering that evening very vividly, around past 6 or thereabout. I said, you say I should pray about it? He said, yes. I said, it's okay. Now, in my heart, there were two feelings. One is that, she's going. Two is that this may be a deliverance. I don't normally see anything negative in my life. So, when she said that, I said, okay, I will pray. After some time, I met her. I said, I think you need to go ahead. They are married now. They are living abroad, and they are doing well. They are married today, 2 of them. So that was how God helped me to deal with that one. Because I want you to know that even though you may be sure of something, there may still be other ones to deal with. There may still be other things that look like it to confuse you. So you will really need God to help you at that point in time. It was enough for her to say, since we are now praying about him for another person, I back out. But she knows what she had. But I didn't hear about anybody's name. I only heard homemaker. Are you with us till that point? All right, please go ahead.
Okay, praise God. Okay, let me talk about another kind of struggle I had. I had this friend, he was also in CU, a brother, and I liked him.
Hallelujah.
And
I know you don't like anybody. You only love Jesus. No problem. We are coming. Bye.
So he was very, very, very close, and he could visit and we would talk and discuss. I just liked him. And
I'm saying it again.
I felt even though I had this encounter some few years down, but I saw this other friendship as something I wanted, as something I liked. And I really desired him to say something. Yes, I wished he could say it. But then he didn't say anything. We would talk about every other thing. We would talk about his family, his mom, his siblings. We would talk everything. But you see, us.
And study scriptures.
Oh yes, we'll study scriptures. But there was nothing like personal. And I just wanted him to just, if he said it, maybe I would have quickly agreed. Because, I don't know, or it was like what I wanted. He's someone who will go for, the strikes we had those days lasted for 6 months, 9 months, you were at home. And somebody remembers you to write you at least every month. Yeah. We didn't have phones. There was nothing like phones. So I would receive letters, and when we are leaving for such strike, you don't know when you're coming back. So they normally say it in the fellowship, look out for one another. If it means traveling from Enugu to Onitsha to go and see somebody, do it. Because you don't know when you are coming back. If it means writing, please take the pens and write and go and post it. So those days I received letters from that brother and I was happy. I knew I was still in his mind somewhere. I wanted him to say something, but he never did. So that was another picture, but we were good. We could discuss every other thing, but he never mentioned, like you were having, it wasn't a crush because he was my friend too. We could see, we talked, he could visit and all that, but he he didn't say anything pertaining to relationship and probably marriage. So I felt angry at some point. I was like, could this be God just trying to stop me by first of all pushing this one so that it will be somewhere already in my mind, and then he will not give me that liberty to see other people and probably explore that kind of thing. But I had to let it go at that.
Oh, wow. Well, what will I say? I also had mine. Yeah, there was this lady. By then, I've started functioning in church. And they lived a street before mine. She was good. Was in pharmacy. sings well. And, I'm ministry oriented so much. So I kept thinking, okay, if I'm preaching and she's singing, that the ministry will go to permanent sites. Are you understanding? And they had cars, and they released one to her. And church was behind flats, so she would carry me back to where I'm going. So when you are meeting with someone on Sunday, Monday is leadership meeting. She's also in the leadership and is bringing you, and all those consistency causes thoughts to arise. And then you are wondering, has the Lord prospered my journey or something? So it was also something I had to deal with. I liked her as a person, and I still do anyway. And I had to involve my friends and let them know that, look, I'm thinking about this person. And we are very good friends. It's not the kind of friends you have now. Your own kind of friends cannot talk to you. If he talks too much, you walk out. Our own, they will look at you in your eyes and tell you exactly what it is. And you will stay by force. So I just told them, 3 of them, and I told them, look at what's happening. My heart is dangling over a lady. I don't know what this is all about. Help me. They didn't even answer me. One morning, the 3 of them landed in my room. I said, what's the matter? And said, we came to settle an issue with your life. I said, my life has no issue. He said, from today henceforth, you must cut off this relationship. It's not of the Lord. I said, nothing is bad, but they said, no, it's not of the Lord. You must quit it. And it was very difficult because nothing was bad. Everything was good. Are you understanding? But God has a way of helping me, and I pray he will find a way to always help you. It didn't take time. Another brother came to me one early morning, 6 a.m. I said, what is it? He said he was praying this morning, and the Lord told him that sister, he didn't know what was going on in my mind, is the wife. I said, God said so. He said, yes. I said, wow. I said, they are writing exams now. I think it's final exams in pharmacy. I said, don't talk to her now, because if you talk, she will fail her exam. And if she fails, she won't accept your proposal. Because some of you go to propose at the peak of exam. Do you want the person to fail? So he agreed. After exams, he went and said, they are married today. They have 3 children. So that lady actually belongs to her. May God deliver you from the one that is not your own. Because there are plenty people you will see, plenty flamingos, plenty flamboyant people, but they may not be your own. Are you understanding? That you feel something for someone does not automatically mean it is now marriage. It may just be something that is passing. Are you understanding? I didn't even tell you that I had a friend that my mother wanted me to marry. Yes, she knows. We have even visited her in her husband's house. In fact, the day she came to give my mother her wedding card, my mother looked at her, said, so you mean my son will not marry you? So my mother was not seeing it. But God in his infinite mercy, one of those nights I slept. And I had a very terrible dream. I don't normally dream, but when I dream, it's serious. A lady just walked up to me and pointed at me. Say, leave so alone. She's not your wife. And I woke up. And I quickly knew it was not it. And we had to tell ourselves, this is not it. Are you understanding? Because why I'm saying all this is that you will meet a lot of people that will seem as if they are the ones, but they may not be the ones. So take it easy. The Lord will take you by the hand and lead you there. Are you understanding? But are you following us? All right, go ahead.
Okay. Another struggle I had, or something that was a concern to me those days, was that in the course of time, he had some issues and had to leave vet medicine. and he went over to the Department of Animal Science, and that meant starting again from second year, and that meant I would have to graduate and leave this environment before him. So it became an issue, because by the time I would have graduated and left and gone for service and all that, he would still be in school. And by the time I'll be coming back and I'm telling my parents that this is a person that is coming, I know the question will be, what's he doing? And that was a huge concern. I needed the Lord to do what he alone could do, if actually he was going to be the one. I don't know how God was going to buy time for him, but it was a concern, because it didn't look like something that was going to be possible. But I kept it somewhere too.
Let me share a concern.
Okay.
I also had a concern. One of those days I visited. When I visit someone, there are two things I look at: your library and then your bed. They speak a lot where you are lying down. So the bed is always dressed each time I visited, so it's fine. But I looked at the shelf. All I'm seeing is physiology of animal, anatomy of animal. That alone was going to tell me no. I already know I'm going to ministry. I'm not seeing books on revival. I'm being honest with you. I'm not seeing books on, fire, prayer, EM Bonds, T.L. Osborne, walking in the miraculous. I'm seeing animal. I said, no, this may not be it. I had to take it to the Lord in prayer. I want you to learn to walk with God. Even if God presents something to you that doesn't look like it, find out. He may be giving you a message. I say, Lord, I can't go with someone that, when I look at the library, I'm not seeing Christian literature. I don't think we can reason alike, because two cannot work together except they be agreed. God, I call him the all-wise God. And he said something to me. He said, why not make her to read? I said, how am I going to make her read? The Lord said to me, buy Christian books, read them cover to cover, make notes for each chapter before giving it to her. So I began work. If you get some of my earliest books, that's some of the earliest books I bought for her, you will see that I read a chapter and you can see me summarize the chapter right inside the book. So that as she's reading the book, she's also reading my own insight into what the author has. In fact, at a point, some of her friends were trying to drag the book. She would have given them the book, but there is a writing on the book. It cannot be released. And interestingly, I think she reads more now than me. So some of the things you are afraid of, God will find a way to make you solve it. Are you with us till that point? All right, please go ahead.
Okay, so I wasn't much of a reader, like he said. I could pick some Christian literatures and look at them, but it wasn't really my thing. I had some, I bought some, but I would just read and then that was it. But when he came and he would get me books to read, it also made me begin to think. And at those early times, I didn't read them because probably I was so much interested in those books. I just read because maybe I didn't just want it to be that he gave me a book and said, please read, and I didn't read. So, but with time, I started developing interests. I started buying, and I started building my own library. Praise God. Until today, I buy books. So this is one thing he helped me do. Praise God. All right, but about this time, I had finished my third professional exams, and the results had come out, and I hadn't seen my results. What they do is when the results come out, they paste it in the faculty. And it used to be, like they normally do, the results don't come out early, maybe very late in the evening, probably around 6:30. Somebody you just hear that results are out, and everybody's just trooping down to go and see. So we had finished our professional exams, and the results came out that one late evening like that. And I quickly prepared myself, left my room, and was going down faculty to go and see what it was like. And I met him on the road. He asked me where I was going. I said I was going to the department. That result just came out. So he now said, okay. Now, can he come along? I said, yes. But somehow I said, I hope I don't have any problem. So that it's not like somebody's following you and getting there and there is something that is looking somehow. So, but we were just going and, walking from Isa Kaita behind, there's no building then. There used to be New Points.
Around that UBA area.
Where they have, no, not UBA, where they have, before you get to Awu, and then having to come down, cross the roads, and then moving down to where the faculty building is, if you know VET very well. Those days, there weren't all these buildings along there. That road wasn't even tarred. We treaded that road on dust, on red ground. So it was like a journey, moving from your hostel to your faculty. So we were going. And halfway through that journey, he said he wanted to tell me something. And I said, what is it? He kept quiet. And me, I was listening. He kept quiet, and then after some time he said, okay, I think I'm missing something before this point. All right, let me go back a little. Before this very day, there was a day he came around. He came to the room, and we were talking other things. And then all of a sudden, he looked at me and said, you are my wife. And I point blank looked at him and said, don't you ever say that to me. And he got up and he left. And me, I was like, what's this one, Kwanu? From a discussion that wasn't like relationship, anything, and somebody just looks at you and say, you are my wife. And I said, no, it's not true. Don't say it again. I'm not your wife. And he left. So I didn't know what was going on with him until this point we now met again. By then I was done with my exams and the results were out. And as we were walking down, he kept quiet. Then he said he wanted to say something to me. I said, what was that? He said, he kept quiet a bit and then he said, I wish you would be my wife. And then I turned and told him that that's a wish. He kept quiet. Me, I didn't know what to answer again. Somebody says, I wish. And I said, it's a wish. He said, I want you to be my wife. I said, that's a want. And what you're saying is a want. He now said, I desire you to be my. I said, that's a desire. Now it's wish, it has grown to a want, and it has become a desire. And I laughed. I actually turned it, I tried to make a joke out of it. So from that point, I started calling him wish, want, desire. Because there was nothing else I could make out of it. And I knew it killed him, kind of. Maybe that wasn't the response he was looking for. But I wasn't going to assume anything. I made up my mind I didn't want to assume anything. Of course, we were taught that if someone had not come out clear and said something clear to you, don't assume. That was the trainings we got. Don't say, maybe I have seen it. I've seen the way he's going. This is what he means. So I made up my mind, if you were not going to be clear about anything, then it is not it. And so I got to the department, and of course my results were good. And I was happy. That made my day. And I went back. We parted ways and I left. But I kept thinking about it. Why would he say, I wish, I want, and I desire? I always keep a journal. I always keep a diary. So I knew I got back that day and I wrote it. The date is in my diary. I wrote the full gist and I wrote what he said to me and what I answered.
All right. My father in the Lord had called me. Just like she said, there was a setback academically. I have a walk with God, and there was already a set time when marriage should happen. But academic challenges altered it. I was pastored by a prophet who does not look like a prophet. So one morning he called me, he said, come. I came. He said, your marriage is now. I said, marriage is now? He said, yes. I said, but you know there are backlog of academic things to handle. He said, God spoke to him, the marriage is now. I should go and talk to whosoever it is. That was what was behind moving straight. Are you understanding? Like John the Baptist, meeting somebody and say, you are my wife. And of course, I reported back to him. I said, I have told the person. He said, oh, you have proposed? I said, yes, Dad. He said, how did you do it? I said, I just looked at her and said, you are my wife. The man carried his hand on the head and said, no, son, it's not like that. You will need to find out if she's interested in marrying you. That led to the second one, because my heart was now pounding. Somebody has already told you shouldn't say that kind of thing. Now, your father said you should say it. Are you understanding? And the lady has said you shouldn't say it again. And here is an opportunity after 1 month or thereabout to say it again. I didn't know what to say. So I said, let me test the waters. Let me be diplomatic. If I say wish and the person reacts, I say, is it not just a wish? Why are you angry about it? I did it. I was being wise. I didn't want to come out openly to say that, look, with you, because you think you're a strong brother until when it is time for proposal. You will know that the cat has bitten your tongue. That lady I've been talking with, when it's now time to propose, you'll be shaking like guinea corn, because you won't even know. You'll be asking, is it wet fasting will I do? What will I do? What will I say? Which words? So I just said, I wish. And she just smiled and said, that's a wish. I said, I want. She said, it didn't click. I just left because I was getting frustrated. Me, I don't know what to do again. All right, go ahead.
Okay, from then on, I began to sense that probably God had spoken to him and he was trying to come out clear. I said, okay, I still will not assume, and I wasn't going to tell him anything. But let's see how it goes. And I was, of course, making up my mind to leave this place, go for service, and then get on with my life. But then there were people who were around who actually knew us. And so at some point, we felt it was needful that we led them into what has been happening. I told us by this time, my hall leader and my mom was now married. She was married to the Baptist pastor, the church where he said he went to minister and he prayed all night. So that pastor was that sister's husband. And because Uju was my roommate and was like my elder sister. They could drive into school on Fridays and just tell me to pick my things and I'm going home with them. He was the pastor in charge of that church and they were living in a parsonage. So he would come around and say, Nnenna, we are going home. And I'm like, Pastor, I say, get your things, we are leaving. And I'll go home with them and stay over the weekend. And on Sunday evening, they will bring me back. It was like a second family I had in Nsukka. And we were quite close. So some of those days, they will come around and pick me and I'll go stay with them. Then she had only about a child and was getting ready with the second one. So I stayed around that family and sometimes she will be talking. She will talk to say, Nnenna, you know you marry a pastor. And I'll be like, how, mom, where? I say, you better learn. And I'm like, better learn what? But I was also observant. I could see the way she handled some of the immediate challenges she was having and the way she was, trying to kind of build with her husband. So, but that afforded us opportunities to talk under watchful eyes. Because at a point, Pastor Peter, that's his name, he asked me, really, what is going on between you and Bro Innocent? And I said, nothing, no, he's my friend. He said, no. He's not talking about friends now. I should talk to him. And I told him a few things, but I know I didn't tell him about what I know and what I had heard God tell me. So he is this kind of an army man. He does like an army person. So by his power, he will invite him over and then sit us both down and ask us to talk. And he is not someone you can lie to. He is not someone as in you would want to do like this. So they became like the watchful eyes we had. And they knew where we were coming from. So it was more like it was our thing. So we could talk to them. Sometimes I could share with the wife, these are the few things I'm considering and I'm not comfortable with. And then he could also talk with the husband. Then aside that, there was this other lady, a PG student, a woman. She came down here from Kaduna, right? Mrs. Ezibo?
From Lagos.
From Lagos to come and run her postgraduate program. And I don't know how they met. But that mommy was wonderful. She was quite close with him and she wanted to know everything happening around him. So one of the days she asked him about maybe who he was planning to marry and all that. And he told her, and the woman asked him to invite me over. And in my heart I was like, how? These people that I'm going to see, and it's not like we've settled, kind of. Well, I had to go see her and we talked. She asked a few questions, she asked a few things, and I shared with her, and then I left. So we had people that we were answerable to. That woman would, at impromptu times, she would send for me and she would ask me what has been going on. And I was reporting to her. It's not somebody I had known from anywhere. I also met her here. But I loved the oversight she was given. I loved the fact that someone was watching out for me. And I knew I wasn't going to mess around. I'm saying this because if you know somebody was going to ask you about how your movements has been, you will be careful. Praise God. So that helped us a lot and helped me a lot. Praise God.
I think we need to talk about some fears or probably talk about the vision, then we'll get into the fears. Now, we are not doing things arbitrarily. If you come to my house, you see the vision of the family. It wasn't after marriage, it was before marriage. Have you ever seen Poha before? It means petals of love, home of affection. We decided that that's what we are going to be. We are going to raise children who will be like petals, raised with love, in an environment of love. So when the children try to misbehave, we only point them to the board and say, you are running against the vision. The vision is that the home should be a happy place, a joyful place for everybody to thrive. And there were other ones, we call it our utmost for his highest. We decided that we will give our best to the Lord, whatever it will cost us to do something for Jesus, we'll do it. That's the second vision, our utmost for his highest. Then the final vision is the one we call forever friends, forever his. We decided we are not just going to be husband and wives, we are going to be friends, and we will belong to Jesus forever. So these three things are the things driving us day by day. When anything is happening, we are looking at it. Is this the best we can do for the Lord? Are we friends? Are we his? So it motivated us. We wrote it in our books. We wrote it in our diaries. We reminded ourselves about it. We prayed about it. And all those things. And day by day, the Lord is pushing us nearer and nearer and nearer. Now, there were fears that we had in our hearts regarding the relationship. Maybe I will start and then she will share her own fears. I had fears. Brothers, praise God. I was afraid because I didn't have money. Amen? So go and have money. If you don't have, you need to have something else. I didn't have money. So I was so afraid. Now, this is someone coming from a background that is a little bit comfortable. And you are coming from a very poor background, where poor people call you poor. And that's the kind of place you are coming from. So it was going to be a worry. How are you going to introduce this matter to the parents? Are you getting me? What are you going to say if they ask you questions? Because rarely will you go to marry somebody's daughter and they will say, are you born again? Even if they say that, immediately they finish that, there's another one they are going to ask you. What do you do for a living? Because nobody wants the daughter to go hungry. It's a genuine question. Even me as a pastor, if you come to marry my daughter in years to come, I will ask, please, what are you doing? So it was a fear in my heart, very deep-seated fear, because I knew that I was going to take this journey, but it appears that physically, and the timing was not so interesting. Like we said, there was an academic setback, but God was insisting that I work with the program he had given me before, that I will still marry the year he has already told me I will marry before the academic challenge. The implication of that was that I was going to marry the year I graduate. And it happened. Because I graduated in August, I married in November. Yes. Now, it was so challenging that when I went to tell my parents that, look, I'm thinking about marriage, they thought somebody did juju to me, because you can't just be coming out and this is what you are talking about. And they told me, pump and plain, we are not going to assist you. We won't do anything for you. I said, I'm not asking you to do anything for me. I'm only asking you to just follow me. Just follow me. Let's go do this thing because God is in it. So it was a major fear in my heart. Whether her people will accept me, I don't know. how they are going to do it. It was a fear because my elder brother has made it clear I should marry from Abia State. Abia should marry Abia. But it was not going to be. She's from Imo. So I'm afraid, are they going to accept? You know, you may be doing something with somebody in school until it is time to go home. Are you understanding? When it is time to go home, you will now know that French is not just qu'est-ce que c'est. There are so many other things about it. So how am I going to take this home? How am I going to talk about it? You know, but God being God has already made me close to my mother. So she's someone I could talk to about anything. The rest can be shouting. I don't bother, but she listens to me and she understands me. So it was a very big fear of how you are going to do, how you are going to start life, living in one room, one boys' quarter room. That's where you are going to start, you know, and all the rest of them. It was so much, very overwhelming. I had plenty fears. Can I even tell you, I was even afraid. You are saying marriage. Are you going to be able to impregnate a lady? You know, if you have been impregnating people everywhere, you won't have that fear. You say, what you know to do, you will do. Now, it was a very big fear. I was afraid. I said, what if you are not able to impregnate it? You have not done before. So what if you don't get it? You know, so many things. You know, what about the first night? So many things going on. So I will remove my trouser before a lady, you know. Plenty fears in my heart. You don't know how it's going to go. You know, but God was there. The Bible said this poor man cried and the Lord delivered him from. I was afraid. I said, will I have children? Are you understanding? Am I going to be able to raise children? Am I going to be able to have children? These were deep-rooted fears in my heart and in our heart. Maybe you had some fears too.
Okay. I think there's a part of my story I'm missing out. I think I want to bring it in before I'll talk about the fears.
Okay.
At some point, by that time, it was becoming clear that God was beginning to talk to him about marriage and all that. We had another strike and we left. And he traveled as far as Benin Republic.
Okay.
He left the country. And this one was a very long strike. But then I knew at that point, I was now serious about praying about marriage. So we had left the school environment and I decided to at least use that period and probably pray again and see what God would tell me. So, but before this point, I had some, I don't know how to describe them. I don't want to call them strange. But there were things that happened to me that I don't forget. And I knew, I don't know whether to say it was God in the form of man or in human or angelic form. I cannot say. When I wrote JAMB, I wrote the first JAMB. I felt the score was not okay, 230 something. I decided to write, of course, that was not going to get me into my dream course. I wanted to read pharmacy. And I scored 230 something. He wasn't going to get it. So my dad said, write again. I said, oh. I bought another JAMB form. But in between having graduated from secondary school and going for lessons and preparing for JAMB, I took up a job. My dad wouldn't allow you to sit at home and do nothing. So I got this job, if you know the old UNTH, where UNTH was in Enugu, after Old Park, the old UNTH. Then old UNTH, the UNTH was still there at their old site. And then you know all those pharmacy stores. Then you had pharmacy stores in front of that road. So I went there and I lived around GRA then, so it was easy for me to walk down. I got a job as a sales girl in one of those pharmacy stores. We go there in the morning, we dispense drugs, and then collect money. Sometimes we do inventory. My boss was a lady who read pharmacy from UNN here. So when I told her I wanted to read pharmacy, he was like, you are welcome. So she would order drugs. Her drugs come in trucks. So when drugs come, we could spend the whole night taking inventory. One whole night, and you are not done in the morning. So, but that kept me busy, and I was earning little money. So I worked there. Then, at a point, a brother, I call him a brother because he was born again at that time. He graduated also from UNN here. He read pharmacy, and he came to do his internship in that particular place. And he was a pharmacist running an intern program, and we were just the ones around. But somehow, I became quite close to him. His name was Uche. And I liked the way, because he was a very serious Christian, he wouldn't waste time giving you scriptures on everything. So, but I liked the way he had a hold on the Old Testament. I was a young Christian then. I got born again in secondary school. I loved the way he interpreted Old Testament. He had a way with the stories. He could connect it. So most of the discussions I was having with him as we were walking, is not only me, other people. Uche would take us on a journey about, all those kings, Jehoshaphat, David. He had a way around he could, I don't know how he did it, but God helped him. So that made me like talking with him and discussing with him. Each time we had the time anyway, and work wasn't so much. So one of those moments that how stories move, they flow from what's the major thing, and then you start talking other things. Uche was telling me about marriage. And having come from UNN, he knew I was writing JAM to go to UNN. He knew I wanted to read pharmacy. And he was a CU brother, graduated. I had told him that I had a sister in CU. So there was something that brought us quite close. So, but we were talking something else, and we started talking about marriage. He wasn't talking about marrying me. He wasn't in the picture at all. But he starts telling me some things that I look back, and to me, it was just, let me say, it was God talking to me. And he said a few specific things. He told me I should watch out. And when I get to school, I will meet a lot of brothers. And of course, CU is a family. And there will be many of them. But he made mention of some specific things. He told me that the person who eventually I will get married to will be someone who will love me so much. That one is a general thing. And then he said that person will come to me, and that when he comes, he will use some specific words. I don't forget, he mentioned forever friends. He mentioned wish, want, desire. I'm not saying what I don't know, because I write. My journals are there. And then he said, this will be someone up there. He will be someone high, somehow. And that when I see him, I will know him. Uche told me. And when he finished and he did his internship and finished and ended and left, till today, I have not heard or spoken with him. I don't know whether he's alive or dead. I have not seen him again. And I wrote my JAMB and came to school and just came and started my academics. So when these things were happening, those thoughts will always come. And I'll remember him. And I'll be like, I wish I can find him. I want to ask him some questions. But I never met him again. And I never got his contacts again. I knew there was once a time I went back to Anox Pharmacy. I met my boss. I asked after Uche, and none of them could give me a reasonable, to where he was at the time. So he disappeared from my life. And I couldn't find him anymore. So when he came and proposed and said some of those words, exact words, I knew it was no longer a joke. I knew. And having known before now that God spoke to me, I started making up my mind that this actually was God. But then I still needed him to come very clear. And so we went on a strike, and he traveled out of the country. And then there was no way we could talk. But then he got a diary, and he was filling it. On daily basis, he would write out things. And then me, I was also keeping my journal. And then one of those days, he had come into Lagos, he called. Those of us who were privileged to have landlines. And then you get a phone call, and he said he had entered Lagos, and that from Lagos he will get into Enugu and we'll see.
At 11 a.m.
I said we will see by 11 a.m. I said, oh, I'm around when you come. So that very day, I woke up in the morning, and we had finished our family devotion. I went back in to pray. As I laid my head on the pillow, that voice came again and said, that's the man I told you of. I told myself, I said, but I already know, Sha, you don't need to remind me. And so I got ready and waited for him, and he came.
The pink top, I still remember.
Yes. So he had already told me we were going out. So I told my mom, I told my dad, and they said, okay. So when he came, we all stayed, and then we told them we're going out. They said, oh, we can go. And then we went out. It was Nourisher's. Eateries were not, there weren't plenty then. There weren't much eateries. It was only Mr. Biggs and probably this Nourisher. I live in Transekulu. So Nourisher was around Damija Junction. It was new then, and they had stuff. So we went there, and we got some things, and we were talking. I hadn't seen him in a long while. It was strike period. You don't even know when we're going back to school. And it was at that point that he proposed. We were talking, and he said that he wanted to ask me that, will I marry him? And I gave him a yes, because I didn't see any reason. There was no reason to say, let me go and pray, and all that. I had prayed, and it was becoming clear. So right there and then, I gave him a yes. And that was it. And then we got up from that point, knowing that it's us, and then resolving to go ahead and do the things that were necessary.
All right. That yes was fearful because it's changed to ask and receive instantly without prayer. Because I didn't know all these background stories of her dealings with God, what God has done, what God told her. But I got a yes. So you get a yes. Don't panic. Praise the Lord Jesus. I mentioned some fears, but I forgot to let us know. Like she said in one of her stories, because of the setback I had, she was to leave school before me. So that was very fearful for me. Because she was going to go to Port Harcourt to settle down. And Port Harcourt men are not smiling. Praise God. So I had terrible fears that someone may take her away from me, which I didn't want. Someone that had money. And I was very afraid. I remember one of those days, it was in front of Pharmacy Hall. I said, Lord, I'm afraid. I'm very much afraid. This lady, they will collect her. They will collect her. People are not smiling. And the Lord gave me an analogy that calmed me down. He said, release her from your heart. If she goes and does not return, she's a raven. If she goes and comes back with olive, she's a dove. That settled the matter for me. I said, if I release her and she doesn't come back, then she's a white bird. But if she comes back and brings olive with her, then she's a dove. And ladies and gentlemen, she went. She saw. He conquered many of them and returned back to me. So there were fears. There were times I saw some brothers hanging around. Even though I'm spiritual, but it was affecting me. You understand? And I wasn't sure what's going to happen because people have things and these things can move people. You're moving around with somebody wearing jacket and trekking. And here is a brother bringing a Honda Accord, green in color, with AC. Nobody wants to suffer, praise God. But God, who normally preserves what belongs to me, did not allow them to collect from me. I thought you'd say amen for me. All right, go ahead.
Okay, just like he said, I also lost some fears. Not that I wasn't sure. By then I was already sure. But I knew my parents. They are not so. My mom is someone I could talk to. I could tell her everything. My dad, I was close to him equally, but I didn't know what his reaction would be. I didn't know what his reaction would be. If I come back and I tell him that I'm bringing someone and he's just somebody who is just finishing school, and then he will ask me what he's doing, and I'm telling him he's a pastor and he's planning to go into full-time ministry. I just could not imagine what his reactions would be. And then I had some very terrible uncles. It was as though they were waiting. I had an elder sister. At this time she had graduated. She got married. She also married a CU brother, an engineer from here. And it was a big wedding. It was a big thing. When my brother-in-law came and did all the Umunna things, he finished and he added Jara. So they were happy. So my uncles have started like, who are you bringing? I hope it's somebody that we overdo. You know that kind of thing. She had already set a pace. I being the second girl, and then my immediate younger sister graduated at the same time with me. I read a 6-year course. She did a 4-year course. So we served the same year. And she was getting married equally. An engineer was coming for her. So my uncles were waiting. Who are you bringing? And I'm like, he's a pastor. And they're like, where did you meet him? That was one of the striking questions. And I said, I met him in school, on campus. Said, so I got at school. You know, that kind of thing. I don't know what they were thinking. Maybe he's one person from somewhere. But it was going to be a hitch. I already saw it. And I also knew he wasn't very, very financially buoyant.
Before.
Wait now. At that point, you know, and I saw the list when my elder sister got married. I mean list. I come from Okiwe. And my people, I don't understand. In fact, there has been calls to review those things. But each time, even after the review, you would wonder whether the review is better or the old one. These are 4 stages of visits. And each of the stages, no be my mind. And my father is not somebody who would do any haphazard thing. And having given out his first daughter, I didn't see myself coming and saying, let them, how would they do this? It was going to be a problem. No, but I talked with my mom. I said, this guy is somebody I want to be with. Someone I like and I love him, and he feels the same way about me. And it's just that the money is not there as much as how my elder sister did their own thing. So I needed someone who will understand me, and I'm glad she did. My parents are not big-eyed people in that sense, and I'm sure she did a good job with my dad. Because while I was leaving, I had to tell my mom, I said, he's coming to see you people. I won't be here, but just know that he's coming, and I want you to help me do the whatever it will take to make it easy for him. And then he came and met them, and then the journey began.
All right. Let me quickly say something. There's something God did that ushered me into this family in a very easy manner. Now, he has an elder brother, only one. They just have one brother. He was also here. So within this time, he had some roommates, and something happened in the room. A phone was lost, and they began to accuse him wrongly about the phone. And those guys were caught guys. So there was fear everywhere in their family that only son, let Curtis not come and kill him.
They had threatened him to join.
They've threatened that he should join them.
And then he refused.
And he refused. So I think they just did that setup. So when the issues were arising, she told the parents that she has a friend in school who can confront Curtis. Are you understanding? So that's how they brought me into the matter. I said, that's fine. I told him, let me see the people. And, when they told David that if he kills Goliath, he will marry a wife. That's why he fought. Are you understanding? So I'm already seeing that God is making a way for me. An introduction before the introduction. I don't know whether you understand. So I met the guys. We talked. I told them, all right, we'll meet in Enugu. We had a meeting, discussed the issue and all the rest of them. So they were insisting that the phone would be replaced. 11,000, that was what that phone, 11,000, that was what that phone cost at that time. I said, okay. So I went back to her father, just a neutral person. I said, I've met with the cultists, but they are saying that the phone will be replaced. He said, that's not a problem. You can replace the phone. He gave me money to go and buy the phone. I went and bought the phone, exactly the phone, got the receipt, photocopied the receipt, and called the guys again. They came. We resolved the whole issue. I handed over the phone to them, and they disappeared into thin air. So I ran back from the point of meeting to their house and called the man. I said, I have sorted out everything. Everybody is fine. But this is the photocopy of the receipt in case they come back again and they say, we didn't give them the receipt. The man looked at me. So you are very intelligent and very wise. I said, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Are you understanding? So fast forward to a few months now. The same person you said is very wise has landed in your house with a communique. And the mother had known that woman is special. So she was just, hey, you came. I say, yes. She already knows why I'm coming. He's the man that does not know. So he went and called him, say, he not came to visit also. So the man came out, we sat down, he asked me how it's life and everything. I said straight to the point that I came because I want to marry Nnenna. Wow. The man kept quiet for some time. He shook his head. He said to me that he's only a foolish man that will see me and not give the daughter. These are his exact words. He said, nevertheless, in Igbo land, nobody goes to marry alone. He said, go and bring your people. I am waiting. So, I just stood up and smiled. And I went to go and bring my people. You see, when God is for you, the heart of the king is in the Lord's hands. He directs it like what? A watercourse. I wish you will allow God lead you. I wish you will give him your hand and say, Father, just lead me into this process so that I don't have strength. Now, she was talking about the list. It's not list, it's stamp paper. Because you will go like this, go like this, go like this, go like this, and you are wondering how it will happen. Do you know God did a miracle? As I was preparing to go and do the listing, her community had a problem. So the community split into two. So when they split into two, the side where her own clan fell in did a new list, which was very, very cheaper than what the other people were presenting. So I quickly ran in and fulfilled that one. I think it was some years after our wedding, they came back again and reconciled. Is that not Jordan dividing? So it doesn't matter what the obstacles are. There are angels that clear the way. So they cleared the way for us for things to actually come to pass. Maybe she has something to say.
Okay. After he had met with my parents, I moved on to service here. Okay, before then I was in Port Harcourt. I had other challenges. There were some guys around that felt, oh, this is someone who is just fresh from school and they can do something with and all that. So I had some good friends that were equally interested. And the moment I landed in Port Harcourt, I for a month and a half, I did some trainings at the head office. I was to work in a vet clinic. I did some trainings, and then the week I was supposed to be posted to where I would work, because the doctor I was working on that had 4 branches. If you know RAV Vets, those of you who come from Port Harcourt, RAV Vet Consults. From Artillery Junction, second Artillery Junction, I was to move down to Rumokoro, something like that. So the doctor in that second clinic, it was that same week he left, he resigned. And so just having come fresh from school, had just about a month training and a few weeks, I was posted and released to that other clinic as the doctor in charge. I thought I was going to work under somebody. And so I had to assume work and office, just like that. And so the clients will come in and they are like, we want to see the doctor. And they're like, doctor is around. And they'll be like, who is the doctor? And I will appear. And they'll be like, you? Why? Where is so and so person? He said, he's no longer here. You are a vet? I said, yes. And then by the time I finish with them, I will look small physically, but I wasn't small in what I could give. So I started having my own base of clients and customers. And we were making big money. When I mean big money, we were really making money. So my boss was impressed. He told me he was going to send somebody to come, help me. But when he saw how we were moving, he didn't send anyone. He told me that you are going to stay there and manage that place and that he's not sending anybody. So I took up that challenge. But with it exposed me to other things I didn't know was in the coffin. So these were big business people who had their money and they were interested. One of them was a lecturer in Uniport, the Albert he was talking about. The younger brother was writing JAMB at the time. So he was just a fresh school leaver, was writing JAMB and going for lessons, and then was working under me as the person in charge of the feed section. So this young boy comes to work. Of course, he gets to the place before me, and then he stays in his own side of the building, the feed section. And then I come, and then I'm like, so what has happened? He will give me his update and all that. And then when one of those days, when it was lunchtime, somehow I noticed he doesn't go out for lunch. We had places around, we go out and buy food, or you place an order, they will bring it to your office. So, but I noticed he wasn't going out, and I don't see him eating. So one of those days I called him, I said, thank God, I've not seen you going out to eat. What's the matter? Is it that you're not hungry or you don't have money? He looked at me and smiled. He didn't say anything, and I put my hand inside my pocket and I gave him money. I said, go out and go and eat. I didn't know that was the beginning of my problems. I didn't know he had been watching. He went out, he ate, he came back, he said, thank you. And then a few days after, he came to me and said, why did I do that thing I did? I gave him money to go and eat. I said, nothing. I felt you were hungry, and I have not seen you going out to go and eat and all that. He said, from that point, he started calling me Mama. He's an Ogoni boy. They are from River State. He said, Mama, you don't know what you do for me. So I said, what did I say? It's not something I can explain. But that he went home and told his elder brother about me. And his elder brother, I don't know what he said to him. But whatever he told him, the guy made up his mind to come see this lady and must marry him. Underline the word must. He wasn't taking chances. So he told me that his elder brother said he was going to come and see me. And I was like, what's my business with your elder brother? I said, he's a lecturer in Uniport. I told him about you. They had lost their mother at that point. And he now told me, the Albert, when he came, that he had been looking for someone who would take care of them. That was his exact words. And that for me, seeing his brother and taking care of him has given him all the light he needed to see that when I come in, I will take care of them. So he came with a forceful vision that he didn't want to let go. And I told him already that I wasn't searching, even though I was single. I already had a person I was engaged to. But he wasn't going to hear that. So he pressured and did all he could. Finished from work, he would come around. He was asking me out, and I said, no. There's no need starting what I will not finish. He is an Ogoni man. And even though he's nice, he's someone you can really talk and relate with. And But I don't see the need because already I was already engaged, but he wasn't going to hear that. So, but one thing helped me also. I was living with a friend of mine who also read vet, my friend, the same class, we graduated at the same time. She was already serving and I was working. Our class was split into two, so the first batch went for batch A. She fell into that batch. The second batch was going to go for batch B. There were only 2 batches then. So I was living in her house. In the morning, she would go to the Ministry of Agric where she was serving, and I'll go to the clinic where I was working. And then in the evenings, we'll come back and we'll share how our day went. So I was telling her that, CEO, this human being is coming. And it wasn't just him. The other guy, Wisdom, had a fish farm, a very big one at that. So I was consulting for him. And these are people that are willing to pay. They are not looking at money. They will ask you, what will it take for you to consult for us for a month? And it's like they are giving you this contract for a year and the money is down. It's not like, you know. So these were the kind of guys. And this particular second guy was willing to find, when he asked me, where do you stay? And I said, I was living in with my friend. He said, for what? That let him go and find a flat, furnish it, and then you move in. And I asked him one question. I said, when you do that, sure you know you have one key. Because you will always come in at will. If you find a place and furnish it and pay, you will also keep one of the keys. And then you will come in when you want. And he was like, so these challenges were there. But we were around, we had to find a way around it. So one of the days when he had to come to Port Harcourt to see me, I had already promised the one that had the fish farm that was going to come see his fishes. They were good, big fish. The farm, the ponds were plenty and big. And then this other guy landed. So it was an opportunity for him to see these 2 people at the same time. So Albert came from school and then drove us to Wisdom's farm where I went to consult, and it was an opportunity for all of us to see. But then I told them that this is the person I've been telling you about.
Hallelujah. With my jacket too, I was wearing my jacket.
And then it didn't end there. The other guy kind of had a rethink and he stepped down a bit. But this other Albert guy came around afterwards and told me we needed to talk. And he said he has looked at the guy that I showed him. And that he's not believing that this is what I'm telling him I am settling for. That he doesn't look it. And he made all his reasons known to me why I should just go and tell him off and then come find a way around it. But then my mind was made up. But let me shock you. Because some of us, we walk into things we don't know. Do you know that for the 1 year I spent there and all this was happening, Wisdom never told me he was married and had a daughter. I didn't know. And he never said it. And he would come around, we would talk, we would go out, we would go and visit the farm, we would do all. But he never ever mentioned he was married and had a daughter. He was the one that was willing to furnish a place for me to stay. So you are dealing with people you don't know who they are. And the way some of us jump at offers, I think I should bring it in here. Somebody is coming around and is bringing up offers. And this, our times, you are not careful to even, nothing tells you to hold back a bit. You're already accepting everything. You're accepting everything. And you don't even know him too well. Never for once. We talked at length. There were times we sat down and he told me his stories. What he considered his past I should know about. what will make me agree and all that. He never mentioned he had a wife and he had a daughter. It was almost when I was due and I was planning. By then, our call-up had come out. I was posted to Cross River State. I was now like tidying up things to leave Port Harcourt. He came to me one day and said he wanted us to talk, that he was taking me somewhere. I said, where? He said, we'll go to Mr. Biggs. I said, I don't go to Mr. Biggs. I said, I can choose where we'll go to and talk. There's a park, a garden around military base. Our office is just opposite military base. There was a park inside, so I told him I was comfortable with the park. And we went into the base and we sat down and we talked. It was then he told me that he was married and that he had a daughter. And I told myself, thank God. Well, I wasn't going to misbehave anyway, but thank God I didn't let my life so open and so loose to some things. It would have been shocking because he was a nice guy, but these were some secrets and I didn't know about it.
Yeah, I think you forgot to mention that at a point, Albert's younger brother was threatening.
Yeah.
He was saying he will kill himself if she refuses to marry the elder brother. Yeah. And I was willing to allow him to kill himself so that so it will be easy for me to marry the person I want to marry. But I'm just trying to tell you, it was not funny. I think one of the days he even brought out knife to
came with a short and jackknife and came to work and said
he
was going to wound me and then he will kill himself. You know these guys can be rough.
Yeah.
These are an Ogoni boy. They are not. He's not this sheke. He came with a jackknife and told me he was going to wound me, and then he will kill himself. And that by the time his brother will now come, I will not have anything to say. Then I will marry his brother.
You know. So well, that's exciting and that's interesting. But what is your own is your own. If you are walking with the Lord, He has a way of keeping that which actually belongs to you. We have plenty things to say to you, but I think we should begin to tie it up. There will also be plenty of opportunities to talk with you. We are not special people. We are just people like you who decided that they need the help of God. That's why no matter what you do, I will stick with MTN because MTN helped me. When we were cutting, MTN introduced night call. So is it 10? Is it 12? 12 to 4. It was free call. So since we are not at the same place, she was in Calabar, I was here. It was an opportunity to pray and pray over so many things per night. Pray into serious issues about children, about childbirth, no deformed children. All those things must be handled in prayer. Some of you are not thinking along that line. You just go to Chitties and eat, and there are things you need to sort out. Are you understanding? This is 2006, right? To this time is how many years now? 16 years of marriage. There has never been any quarrel between our families. None. If they are doing anything, my siblings come. If you see me relate with my sisters-in-law, you would think they are my own blood sister. If you see me play with my mother-in-law, you think it's my mother. There's nothing God cannot do for you so that you can have peace. There hasn't been any day my mother choked my mother-in-law and say, you. No, there's nothing like that. If I meet my mother those days, say, what about your in-laws? I hope you are hearing from them. The same way. The same thing. You know, our marriage began on a very rough note. Very rough. In the sense that we had gone to the village to do the final stage of the traditional things before we can do the traditional wedding. I think that was on a Thursday, right? So we just finished doing those things, and I was about to go with my people. My father-in-law called me and just poured a drink in a cup and said, show everybody who your wife is. I said, no, sir. We are still coming for traditional wedding. He said, never. It must be done now. You must show us now. I said, we are going to come back for it. He said, do it now. And we did it. We didn't know the man knew what was happening. He died the following day. Yes. On Saturday, 2 days after. You know. But before then, he had told me something. He said, you must take care of this family. I make you a father to all of them. So there's nothing happening there. I don't get involved. I'm not an outsider. I remember his very words to me. Say, take them as your own children. You know. So we didn't know what honeymoon is all about. So some people came to me, some advisors, they said, wow, we had your father-in-law just died. Shift the wedding. If you shift the wedding, since you have not done traditional, during the burial, they will not ask you to bring cow or any of those things. Can you imagine that kind of thing? I told them, I'm going to do the wedding. After the wedding, I do the burial. So I wedded, I think 25th November. I did my father-in-law's burial 16th December. So I don't know anything called honeymoon. I just finished. I moved straight to Enugu to start planning for his burial. So it's not honeymoon that makes marriage. You can have honeymoon in Atlanta and still divorce. Are you understanding? So you need to know the things that are important. We only gathered you to talk to you because thus far, Ebenezer has helped us. God has helped us. We can boldly say it anywhere. Is it during childbirth? 4 of them, no complications. 4 of them, normal children. When they told us one of our child has a hole in the heart, it was terrible. We were running helter-skelter. They were putting him in a nebulizer. We took him to Enugu. A doctor looked at him and brought 1 tablet, prednisolone, and gave this boy. That was the end of the matter. Nothing again. Nothing. You know, so we have seen rough times too. We have seen good times. You understand? We have seen children convulse. I have driven to the hospital without shirts. I didn't know I was not wearing shirts. I'm being honest with you. It was when I reached, I remembered I was not wearing shirts. No slippers, no nothing. Because I was preparing to go to, I think it was Kenya. I was preparing to leave for Kenya the following morning. And by 1 a.m., the child started convulsing. She just carried the child and came and presented to me. I just carried the child immediately, ran inside the car. I was not wearing shirt, just trousers, no slippers, just drove off. You know, it was when I reached, I remembered. And I wore my dress. I left them there, I came back. I told myself, all the while I've been going inside village, no convulsion. It is now that God wants me to travel that there is convulsion. I still traveled. The child didn't die. Are you understanding? So in marriages, there are challenges. There are ups, there are downs. But the 2 of you must agree that look, nothing will break the bond. You know. So it's a beautiful thing to marry. But like she said, there were people who had oversight. There were people who are watching what we are doing. I don't want you to do rubbish. Are you hearing me? Don't do rubbish. And when the person coming to marry you knows that there are people behind you, he will be careful. Some of you sideline your families because you want to marry a man. You insult your father, you insult your mother. But as far as I'm concerned, to pack into a man's house without the consent of your parents, to even go to Onitsha to visit him without the approval of your parents, you have already told him that your parents are not important. So when he starts treating your parents as if they are not important, don't complain. It is the things that you do that affects you. Are we together? So there are stages. Take it one step up. No matter, some of you think love didn't shock us. Love was shocking us. But when it is shocking, you find people who will get rope and tie on your waist and be holding you like Uriop. Am I talking to you? If you don't have such kind of people, you will make mistakes. So I had people who were dragging me. I told you about my friends. They are there. Kingsley Oriseke. Many of them, I thank God for them. They are my friends. I respect them so much because of their own oversight. They will just tell you, this is this. I say, friends, today is our birthday. They say, fine, we are going together. You will see 5 men walking into a place because somebody is doing birthday. And they will come, we'll celebrate, we'll finish. You say, bro, get up, let's start going. So there will be no, stories. Do you understand? It was only one day that an outreach almost happened. I felt like kissing her that day. Amen. I know you have never felt like kissing anybody except Teddy Bear. Praise God. And I told her, this is what is happening in my head now. I just feel like kissing you. Say you can't do that. I said, don't say can't. Because I can. I have what it takes. It's mouth. But I should not because it's not right. Are you understanding? So temptations abound, but you can always shelve it. Those days, I want to see her. I will call her friend, Floxy. I say, Floxy, I want to see your friend. He said, okay, I will arrange for you to see her. She will sit somewhere and wait for us to talk. It's your safety. Are you understanding? Subsequently, we will start bringing the letters we are writing. They are all there. So that you read the letters we are writing. Because some of you, what you text now is dangerous. So you read the letters and know. And interestingly, we didn't know we'll be having a ministry like this. We didn't know we'll be pastoring youths like this. We were just doing things from the innocency of our hearts. We just felt this should be, this should not actually be. Are you understanding? There were times that World War wanted to come up. You know, I told her, look, I can actually kiss you, but she just looked at me and said, no, you shouldn't do that. So I will keep it for you. I can't forget that statement. So the thing sank back again. I just relaxed. I know you are never tempted. You are above temptation. But we are tempted. And if I had kissed her, I would jump this part of the story. But I have told you the story. So that you can make corrections if you have been making mistakes. All these two aside will not help you. Say, no, only 2 of us. No. Involve people. I didn't say involve your clan or your community. Because that's also a problem. There's a way you will expose a relationship. It will scatter. Some of you don't know how to handle relationship. Somebody is just saying, hi, you have gone to your status, it has happened. What has happened? What has happened? Nothing has happened. Are you understanding? It needs to be guarded. Are you understanding? If an egg will become live, they need to sit on it and incubate it. Sitting on it means somebody is watching. We had watchers. We had friends. And up to today, they talk. Chika still comes to my house. If he's coming to Nsukka here, it's my house, he's sleeping. Kingsley, we still talk. All those people, we still discuss. And they are watching. And they are saying, I can't even do any stupid thing. Because a lot of people are involved in this relationship. They will use their mouth and finish me. So, but your own, nobody is involved. You cut off your father, cut off your mother, cut off your siblings, cut off your friends. Because one flamingo appeared before you. That's wrong. Are we together? Are we together? So there's nothing wrong with relationship. It depends on what you are doing. And who is watching over it. Like she said, you can't find her out 7:30. But I see some of us 11. 11 p.m. A brother is still in his sister's house. 11 p.m., a sister is still in a brother's house studying scripture. Now, you are positioning yourself for destruction. No matter who you are. Are we together? Very soon, you won't have what to tell your generation. Come on, be disciplined. Right? Right? We need to be disciplined. We need to be disciplined. Because of tomorrow. And we will not fail to tell you, you don't need to impress anybody. Maybe subsequently, one of the days, we will bring our wedding card for them. You will laugh at our wedding card, but you can't laugh at our marriage. But there are people who say, whoa, their wedding card. But you look at their marriage, you shake your head. Very simple card. That's what we're able to make. Because I had friends who gave me solid advice. I can't forget Pastor Fine. One day I'll bring him to preach here one day. He said to me, Innocent, don't struggle. Whatever you can do, do now. Just do it simply and decently. But in 25 years, please call us again. Now, check out when this marriage will be 25 years. And I'm doing 25 years anniversary. If I'm printing card, it can't be that same card. Because I've ascended. Am I talking? Do what you can do now. What you can do now. Just let it be decent. Let it just be decent. Don't go and do Yahoo because you want to marry again. Praise God. You mustn't go to Dubai. If you have the money, go. If you don't have, go to P Junction. Anywhere. What is important is that two of you are happy. Are you understanding? Let it be that two of you are joyful and you are very happy. And the marriage is proceeding. We've not arrived anyway. We're still evaluating. We're still praying. We're still begging God. The stage where I am now, I'm not so worried about myself as I'm worried about my children. I say, Lord Jesus, if you will help these children to be genuine Christians and follow the principles of the Word of God, what else am I waiting for on earth? Take me home. But it's not all about going to India to preach. What about India? What about these ones that are inside your home? Are we together? I'm crying in my heart. I need homes. Will you give us homes? Yes, wow. I want you to make up your mind. Nobody talks to us like this. We didn't used to have relationship talk. There was nothing like that. I was the first person who organized a relationship meeting in Christian Union. There was not his consecration. Revival. No. So when I did it, people say, what are you talking about? I say, it's singles weekend. They say it's not part of the ancient landmark. I say this one is more ancient because this is what is killing people. Are you understanding? You want to relate with a lady. You don't know whether to feel guilty or not to feel guilty. You greet her, your mind does boom. Some of you smile at somebody. You see my face. You just, Pastor, good evening. I know. Come on, let's talk about it. Fine? That's true. So you are living with guilt over nothing that you have done. You don't know how to relate. And the world you are in has projected sex. So you think that a brother and a sister, it must be. No, it's not true. People can be close, they are friends, and they are building each other, they are lifting up each other. There is nothing. Nothing at all. When I mean nothing, I mean nothing. Desire that. Brothers, are you hearing me? Build up your sisters. Build up your sisters. The things I taught her, she can't forget. The things she has taught me, she can't forget. I wrote an article one time. I said 11 things I've learned from my wife. Very major, heavy things. If you see me bold, it's this woman. No? There are things. Oh my God! I remember those days. A pastor was coming to visit us. We didn't have chair in our parlor. It's only rug. And I came back home. I said, my friend is coming. Where will he sit to eat? She just looked at me. He said, you that is the owner of the house, where do you sit to eat? I said, I sit on the floor. He said, when he comes, he will sit on the floor. And the man came. She spread one fine clothing material on the floor and put food there. I said, Pacify, please, you and your friends, sit down and eat. I said, this is it. The things I can't say, if I'm finding something difficult to say, I'll call my wife to say it. But she'll say it for me in a way Is she owing you? She's not owing you. Are you understanding? It's like that. Lessons. So I don't agitate. I'm not moved. I've never seen somebody who is not moved by anything. Nothing moves her. Nothing. I remember one day, oh God of mercy. I remember so many years ago, I just suddenly got depressed. And I came to her where she was washing. I said, do you know I can't even boast of 1 million in my account? She just lifted up her eyes and looked at me. He said, when did that become the call of God on your life? Ah! I felt so foolish. I thought she would say to me, that's what I'm saying. Get 1 million. She said, is that what God asked you to do? I just went back to the prayer room and said, Lord, I'm very sorry for the foolishness I went to exhibit now. Are you understanding? Who are you putting pressure on? It's not necessary now. Who are you trying to impress? Because the people you are trying to impress cannot be impressed. Am I talking? They cannot be impressed now. They can't be. So all those things you are watching online, they are not real. They are not real. Somebody is in his house, he's wearing shoes. Do people wear shoes in their house? Somebody is in his parlor, he's wearing shoes. Do you wear shoes in your house? I don't know, when you watch TV, you don't see the fakeness in the thing. That he's well suited, he's dressed with his shoe. Somebody is knocking, she just say, come to open. Now lie. And the person came by 7 a.m. It's not true. They are still on a nightgown by that time. It's not true. Praise God. Even if you have made a mistake, you can correct it. You can correct it. You can make it good. Even if you have already given your word, you can pray and say, God, deliver me. In case this is not the person. Because a broken engagement is better than a broken marriage. I hate to see homes where they are shedding tears. It should not be. It should not be. We can't fight outside and fight in the house again. So you need to watch the indices. If the fight is already there, every day fight, it is not going to change, because these are two adults. They won't suddenly change. They will not suddenly change. Sometimes God brings people across your way and causes things to happen so that you will see what their response will be. I remember those days my mom was very sick. It was very difficult to handle her urine and all the rest of them. My wife woke up in the morning. He said, please go and bring mama for me. I just looked at her and said, this woman, are you okay? I should go and bring my mother for you so that you'll be battling with how to handle urine. I said, there is a urine problem. I said, this house will start smelling. She looked at me and said, is it your problem? I know how to do it, and you will not even know that there is anything. And I went to bring my mother. And it was after that visit that the woman died. She said to me, see, if I didn't take care of her the last time, I would have been feeling guilty in my heart. But you're engaged to somebody who has never asked you about your siblings for 9 months. Every time he's testing you, say us. Us looks like OS, or cow. What is us? He doesn't care about your father. He doesn't, because you are Melchizedek. You have no father, you have no mother. You just appeared for relationship. I'm trusting God. We have prayed for you. We are saying, God, give us Christian homes. Give us homes that unbelievers will enter and they will shudder. They say, what is this? What is happening here? You know, I can't wait to finish this when I run home, because all the children came down for midterm break. No sleep this night. Gist galore. That's what it should be. Not war zone. 2 against 3. The boys on their mother's side, the girls on their father's side. That's not what God made it to be. We desired a home and the Lord gave us. Do you desire a home? You will build it. I know my daughter said they will build. A wise woman will build her home. You will build yours. We want to pray for you tonight and release you. God is faithful. We didn't have all the time. She had wanted to show you the diary we talked about on Monday.
When I traveled, that's the diary.
You know, you keep records of events. Nobody is asking you to do that, but you are doing that to check yourself. You know that you are going to register how the day went. You can't come and register to the person you are cutting with that I went to her bath and I mistakenly slept with him. You can't do that kind of thing. And if you can't register it, then don't do it. Am I talking? Yes. Come on, lift up your hand and worship him. Worship him. Worship him. Worship him. You do mighty things. You do glorious things.
You're a faithful God.
Awesome.
Awesome is your name.
You do mighty things. You do glorious things. You are a faithful God. Awesome is your name. Worship him. You do mighty things. You do glorious things. You're a faithful God. Awesome is your name. You do mighty things. You do glorious things. You're a faithful God. Awesome is your name. You do mighty things. You do glorious things. You're a faithful God. Awesome is your name. You do mighty things. You do glorious things. You're a faithful God. Awesome is your name.
say, Lord, you are the shepherd of our souls, and we have made up our minds to follow. Wherever you lead, we will go. Open your mouth and pray this evening and make a commitment to God that the shepherd of your soul will lead you, and you are willing to go with him all the way. Wherever he leads you, you will go. However he leads you, you will go. You are committed to hearing him and obeying him. You are saying, Lord, I will obey your voice. I will obey your instructions. Whatever you say to me, that is what I will do. You are the shepherd of my soul. You know where the pasture is. God knows where the green pasture is. He is not confused about it. He knows where to lead you, and you will feed fat. If you decide to move on your own, you will have bruises. But if you go with the Lord, he will lead you into green pastures. He said, he maketh me to lie down beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Everything is for his name. Everything is for his name. The relationship you have is for him. Just ask the Lord to lead you by the hand. Aya. Sana la majane baroso tokoto libada sena katela majana. Abaduze na nagadali abada zandele brodoso koto libada sanariana. Lord, I trust you with my relationship. I trust you with my marriage. But I'm trusting you with my relationship. I am trusting you with my marriage. I walk by faith, Lord. Not by sight, oh God.
One more prayer and I'll pray for you. I want you to say, God, whatever it will take you not to allow me to make mistake in marriage, Lord, feel free to do it. Even if I'm already in a mess, by the mystery of your mercy, Lord, redirect me. Lord, refocus me. Even if I'm already wounded, Lord, heal me. See yourself before his presence tonight. You can't miss the volume written for you. Sarabamonena. Rasakarabakuria. Holy Spirit, please, whatever you will do. I'm already bruised. Come on, heal me. I'm already confused. Redirect me. Somebody pray. Somebody pray. Let it be today that you prayed about it. Let it be that today you beg the Lord. Let's beg the Lord. Let's beg the Lord. I want you to finish this prayer and the Lord will say to it, it's settled. As he said to me in 100 Enuguru, Karabakuria Barat. We cannot see heartbreaks. We cannot see home breaks. Not in our generation. Anybody thinking that your generation will not get it, the person has lied. Your generation will get it. You will get it right. Every confusion, whoever is not it, every impostor, whatever is looking like it that is not it, Lord, every affection that is not from above, let them all delivered. In the rubber they get the believe. Sanda Kuria Barimana. Oh, call upon the Lord. Brother, call on the Lord. Sister, call on the Lord. Mighty men have been damaged by this. Great men have had their own bad stories. Your story will be sweet. Shataka Parabadegede. Rakataka Brelegede. In the Lebregede. May the Lord arise. It will not be to you as it is with your father. I know you came from a bad family. You will not have a bad home. We are insisting tonight. We are insisting tonight. Oh, you have helped me before. Lord, help me again. Lord, help me again. Lord, help me over these young lives. Jehovah, help me. Jehovah, help me. Jehovah, help me. May the Lord arise. May the Lord arise. May the Lord arise. Every plan of the wicked one to damage you. Allah, pray tonight. Pray tonight so that you will not regret tomorrow. I know they have defied you. The Lord is healing you. The Lord is restoring you. Young girl, the Lord is restoring you. The Lord is restoring you. Oh my God. You have helped me before. Where are you? You know you need healing. You know you need healing. You know you need healing. Relationship has scattered you. Run down, run down, run down. Run to the altar. This is a healing moment. This is a moment of healing. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? The Lord will restore you. Run down. Lord, heal my heart. Lord, heal my emotions. A new dawn. I hear a new dawn. I hear a new dawn. I hear a new dawn. You cannot lie. Lord, you will not lie.
Jesus.
Where are you? Run down. The altar is open for you. There is a fountain. A fountain for cleansing. The Lord will repair you. The Lord will repair your destiny.
Oh, Jesus.
1 more minute. Run down. Run down if the Lord is calling you.
But you're not a man. You're not a man that you should lie.
You are not a man.
Speak the word.
Don't hide it. Don't hide your wounds. Don't hide your heart. Come. Young girl, come. Come, it shall be fine. Come, it shall be fine. Papa came. The balm of Gilead. The balm of Gilead is here. The balm of Gilead is here. The balm of Gilead is here. You will have a sweet marriage. I know you are aborted. I know you are aborted. You will still have your children. Come. 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 Let the Lord heal you. Let the Lord heal you. Lord, heal me. Lord, heal me. I am the Lord that healed thee.
I am the Lord
Run down.
that
healed thee.
Oh, I am the Lord.
You will have a good marriage. Oh. You will have a good home. Oh.
I send my word. I send my word.
You will not forget. 17th of February. Your life began. Holy Ghost. Sing it again. Sing it again.
I am the Lord.
I am the Lord.
That healeth thee.
That healed thee. Jesus is interested. Your healer.
I sent my word.
I sent my word and healed my disease.
I am the Lord.
I am the Lord.
I'm your healer.
God will make a way. God will make a way.
Oh, God will make a way.
For you, for you, for you.
When it seems to be no way.
He walks in ways I cannot
He
see.
walks in ways we cannot see.
He will work for you.
He will make a way.
He will make a way for me.
Oh, he will be my
He will be my God.
God.
Hold me close. make a way.
God will make a way.
Lord, make a way for me.
Where there seems to be no way.
We just told you a story.
Because he walks in ways
The craftsman is alive.
see.
God who crafted this story. Your life is a story. It will end in praise. It will end in praise. It will end in praise.
Hold me closely to his side.
Hold me close, Lord.
With love and strength for each new day. He will make a way. He will make a way. With love
Lord, heal
and
me.
strength for each new day.
Heal me of past error in relationship.
Make a way for me.
Deliver me from always meeting the wrong people.
Be mine.
Ayaya. Radakabalabalabalabalabalaba. Lekope manedelebegegegege. 17th of February.
Strength for each
The river is flowing again.
He will make
The river is flowing again. Anybody sponsored by hell to destabilize you through marriage, the Lord make their path slippery.
with love.
May they walk in darkness even when it is noon.
New day.
They will not see you. They will not see you. What scatter the marriage of your parents will not scatter your home. Somebody pray. Somebody pray.
Love and strength for each new day. He would make
I see great homes. I see great marriages. Power couples. Shataka paledede. Reteke bremene. Indalebede. Edobede. Heavens came down and glory filled my soul. Something must fill your soul.
down and glory fill my soul.
I see glory filling your life again.
When at the cross, my Savior,
My Savior,
made me whole.
He made me whole. You are whole, brother.
My sin
My sins were washed away.
washed away.
Every relationship sin is washed away. My darkness turned today. Sing it, brother. Heavens
Came down
and the glory filled my soul.
Heavens came down and glory filled my soul.
I see glory filled families.
When at the cross,
Families where Jesus is walking around.
made me whole.
My sins were washed away.
My sins
They are washed away.
washed away.
You didn't know now, we have told you.
And my night was turned to day.
Heavens came down
Heavens came down
and glory filled
my soul.
Tell the Lord the kind of home you want. This is a divine moment. We even told him 2 boys, 2 girls, he granted. This is a divine moment. Declare the kind of home you want. I know. He touched me. He's touching you. Giving you capacity for that home. Oh, pray. Brother, pray.
Happened,
Sister, pray. Oh.
and now I know He touched me.
What is your request, my daughter? My son, what is your request? I told him, may what killed my father not kill me.
He touched me. Oh, He touched me.
Who will build for the Lord?
And
Who
oh,
will raise a home for Jesus?
what choice that filled
filled my
my soul.
Something happened.
Oh,
Something happened.
I know
He will not reward you according to your sins. So He will not pay you back. Pray. The past will not affect the future. Pray.
He touched me.
Let Him hear your request.
He touched me. And oh, choice that fills my soul.
This is a new beginning for you. Kai, I see help.
Something
I see help. I see help. I see God helping me. I see a generation helped by the Lord.
He touched me and He made me whole.
Your own will not scatter. I know you have seen your auntie's own scatter, but your own will not scatter. This thing will not break in your hands. Lord, I bless. Lord, I bless. Lord, I bless. I have a commandment to bless. Godly children. Godly children. Godly children. Godly children. I call them forth. 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 Receive. 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 Receive.
Something happened, and now I know He touched me and made me whole.
Pass me not, oh gentle Savior.
Pass me not, oh gentle Savior.
Only when you do you need your others, I can hear them. That you will help others in marriage and you will not help me. Hear my humble cry tonight. While you are helping others,
thou art called.
don't pass me by.
Lord, do not pass me by.
Savior. Savior. The Savior from marital embarrassment. Save me from marital embarrassment.
Savior,
My humble
cry. While on others thou art called. Lord, do not pass me by.
woman knows who God. All this mistake has stopped. That marital error in your generation. That marital error in your lineage. Heavily believe. When they did you. Kai. Kai. Nobody married correctly in your family. Oshola. No marriage is working. Oshola. Less marriages is enough. What is this hatred that men have towards your sisters? Oshola. Oshola, wherever it's coming from. All the powers projecting it. All the fears is enough. Lift up your hand. those hands up to the Lord. Lord, mercy. Lord, mercy. I told you that I'm not strong. I told you I have no strength of my own. Lord, I'm telling you the same thing now. Lord, they are not strong. God. They can't face divorce. They can't face broken home. Sure, you said you won't give us what is bigger than us. They can't face having imbeciles as children. No? They can't face being beaten or being abandoned. Don't mind us. Bring mercy. Bring mercy. Bring mercy. What we have seen with our parents makes us fear. What we have seen with our sisters does not encourage us to get into marriage. But Lord of mercy, by the multitude of mercy, reach out to every soul here in the name of Jesus. You that raised the poor from the dunghill. You that makes a man who doesn't have to have. The God of the commoners. The God who picks common men and makes them instruments. You are here. It was bad because you have not come. Lazarus was decaying because you have not come. But now that you have come, this generation will raise super homes in the name of the Lord Jesus. They don't believe in us. They think we will fail. But prophecy favors us. The glory of the latter shall be greater in the name of the Lord Jesus. What plagued your parents? What plagued your uncles? What plagued people in your generation? You are exempted in the name of Jesus. I hear in my spirit that barriers will be broken. Why are they always struggling with having children? You have escaped in the name of the Lord Jesus. Why is there no stable family in their generation? I declare you have escaped in the name of Jesus. Can any good thing come out of Nazareth? He said, come and see. I declare over your life, your case is different. Your marriage is different. Because a ransom has been found for you. You will not go like other men in the name of the Lord Jesus. Your marriage will not be weak. It will not be frustrated. It will have direction. It will have purpose. Men and women will come to find shelter under it. In the name of the Lord Jesus. I pray for you this evening. Any mistake you have ever made in terms of relationship, by the power that is in the blood of Jesus, it is nullified. 17th February 2022, begin your journey in the name of the Lord Jesus. How God brought me out from what is not it is amazing. I pray for you. Whoever you will meet in this world that is not it, may that guiding hand of Jehovah guide you out of it in the name of Jesus. Even if you have gone far, the Lord deliver you in the name of the Lord Jesus. May you have ability to know the one that is not it. You will build properly. Receive capacity to say no when you should say no. You will resist the devil, he will flee from you in the name of Jesus. The grace that God has given us in this area, we release to all of you in the name of the Lord Jesus. Silver or gold we don't have, but such as we have, we give to you. You will have a great home. You will have great children. Your marriage will be very great. You will enjoy it all the days of your life. You will not marry an enemy in disguise. You will marry your friend. All the days of your life you will testify about your marriage. In the mighty name of the Lord Jesus Christ. The Lord give you men of substance. May men of wealth locate you. May women who are builders come your way. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Nothing will connect you to Jezebel. Nothing will lead you to Ahab. In the name of Jesus. We fasten it to creation. When it comes to marriage, may the earth help you. Everything in the earth will help you. In the name of the Lord Jesus, we declare your marriage established in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Thank you, Father. In the name of Jesus we have prayed. Amen. Were you blessed? All right. If you know you don't worship here regularly and you want us